Boker Tov. Today's daf is daf Tes Zion in Nizir, daf Tes Zion, as we begin the new parak. Now, we referred to this whole Mishnah back on Daf Hay 2 Shabbosim ago, when we discussed the machlokas between Bar Pada and who is this Bar Plukta? Bar Plukta was not Rav Kahana. What was his name? We had the machlokas before Rav Masna, rather Rav Masna and Bar Pada, whether if a person makes a netter, stam netter, is it for 29 days or 30 days? Bar Pada's shita was it's 29 days, unless you say specifically 30 days. But a stam naziris is 29 days. We hold like Rav Masna. Stam naziris is 30 days. But there is a difference, even according to Rav Masna, between saying 30 days or saying I want to be a nazir, stam, I want to be a nazir. The difference is we say mixed yom kekula according to Rav Masna. Yesterday we discussed the issue of mixed yom kekula, and today we're going to talk more about that. Says the Mishnah, Misha Amar Hareini Nazir. Man says I want to be a nazir, megalech yom shloshim ve'echad. So the normal thing is, and what does megalech mean? When he said megalech would mean not only does he shave, he means shaving and bringing his karbanos, etc. Shaves, brings his karbanos, and then he's free to continue and void the three prohibitions. He's no longer a nazir. So the regular way is a man says I'm a nazir. 30 days you're a nazir, and what do you do on the 31st day? On the 31st day, meaning his naziris is over, he shaves now. He brings his karbanos and he shaves. So if he did it on the 29th day, he's yotzei. Why? If he did it on the 29th day, on the 30th day. If he did it on the 30th day, he's yotzei also. Why? Doesn't he have to keep naziris 30 days? So again, according to Rav Masna, the idea is mixes yom kekulo. If you kept part of it, that's like finishing shiva. Mixing yom kekulo, we said, is a very complicated thing, because when do you say it? When don't you say it? You say it usually at the beginning or the end of something. For example, Rahman Atzlan, somebody dies, right? They have the funeral at 12 o'clock noon, and then they start singing shiva. That's the first day. The first day is shiva right there. They didn't sit the whole day. They didn't sit in the morning before the funeral, right? Or even if they sat at 6 o'clock in the evening before Shkia or whatever it is, that's also, if you got in a minute before, that counts as a day. And then at the end, it's also. So we say mix yom kekul at the beginning or at the end, not in the middle, right? For a woman has to keep Zion Nakim, you don't say, well, in the middle of it, she saw Dam, but part of the day she was okay. You don't say at the beginning or at the end. Then you say mix yom kekul. Says it. Again, Rav Masna would say, when he said, according to Bar Pada, rather, or Pada, we said, he'll say it's speaking about a case where you said I want a full 30 days. But again, Bar Pada says Stam Naziris is 29 days. Rav Masna says Stam Naziris is 30 days. And the Pashup shot of the Mishnah is mashma like Rav Masna. If I'm a Stam Nazir, 30 days, 31st day you shave. If you did it on the 30th day, if you did the Karbanos and Shon 30, it's also okay because mixes Yom Kekulo. Yom Shloshim Yatsa. Let's say it's already Nazir Shloshim Yom. He says I'm 30 days, not Stam Naziris. Stam Naziris is, we say, is 30 days also. And if he said most of the days, but then in Gil Yom Shloshim Lo Yatsa, even according to Masa, why? Because we said Stam Naziris, it means like full days, right? A Nazir is 30 days. So and the 30th day could be mixed Yom Kekul. You don't have to keep the whole day. You could bring your karbanos on the 30th day. It's cool. As soon as you fulfilled part of the day, Benaziris, right? You came to shul and you davened, and they didn't have any wine, and you didn't have to shave at shul. There was nobody dead at shul. Nobody dead, so you're okay, right? So you're okay. And then you buy your karbanos even on the 30th day, it's okay. Same deal for Yom Shloshim, Lo Yatsa. Then, but if you said 30 days complete, I said I want 30 days, that means complete days. Then if you shaved on the 30th, if you bought your karbanos, what we call tiglachas of tahara, meaning shaving and bring your karbanos, you're not yotzei. Okay. Misha Nazir Shtei Naziris. Let's say a person said, I want to be a Nazir twice. I want to be two Nazirises, one consecutively, one after another. So the normal way to do it is you do 30 days. The 31st day you bring your karbanos. And the 31st day that you bring your karbanos, you brought your karbanos, now you start your second on the 31st day, which is the first day of the second one. Okay. In other words, mix yom kekula both ways, right? Not really saying mix yom kekula both ways. We're not saying that yet. We'll say it in a minute. The first we did on the 31st day, you fulfilled 30 days. Then on the 31st day, you brought your karbanos. Then you started that same day, you started your second one. And then when would you bring your korbanos for the second Naziris? On the 61st day. Why? Because the 31st day since day one is the first day of the second Naziris. So the day you brought your korbanos for the first one, it's also the first day of the second Naziris, right? Even first day, you brought your korbanos, you can count that day too. Mix Yom Kikulo starting off. You brought your korbanos the 31st day. Then the 60th day would be complete 30 full days. And then on the 61st day, you bring your korbanos. Okay. Let's say you did tiglachas of, we'll call that tiglachas of Tara, korbanos and shaving on the 30th day, which we said before you could do. The beginning of the mission, we said if you said your stam and nazir for 30, stam naziris is 30 days, and the way Rav Master learns, you could even bring your korbanos on the 30th day because mitzvah kulo. So let's say you shaved, you brought your tiglachas Tara on the 30th day. Well, if you did it on the 30th day, if you brought your korbanos on the 30th day for the first Naziris, right? So when do you start the second Naziris? On that same day, the 30th day. So if you started on the 30th day, when did you complete 30 days? 30 days on the 59th day, right? The 59th day, right? Because if you brought it on the 30th day, so the 59th day would be 30 full days. So Yom Shishim. Yom Shishim. What does that mean? Why? Because you completed, what was your second Naziris? From day 30 through day 59. 30 through 59 is 30 days. Then on day 60, you bring your korbanos. No problem, right? Korbanos and shaving. I guess it's easy to say korbanos, right? Yom Shishim. Let's say you shaved on the 59th day. Let's say you brought your korbanos on the 59th day. That's okay also. Why? Mitzvah Yom Kikulo, right? Because we said, when did you, again, you said I want to be a Nazir twice. So the normal way is you do 30 days, bring your korbanos on the 31st. 31st, you start your second one, you bring your korbanos on the 61st day. But let's say you bought your korbanos on the 30th day for the first one. Fine. So you start the second one on the 30th day. You finish on the 59th day and you bring your korbanos on the 60th day, the next day. However, you could also bring your korbanos on the 30th day, which is the 59th day. So you're Yotze there too. Now, according to Barpada, some of this is simpler, the second part, because he holds the Sam Zir is only 29 days. But we're going Pashup Shad according to Rav Masna that he holds that Sam Zir is 30 days, but Mitzvah Hayom Kekulo. The Zu Edis Hey Rav Pius. Rav Pius also gave testimony to this halacha. Misha Nazir Shtei Naziris is basically saying the same thing. If you're Nazir, if you made a Nazir twice, Shem Gilach is Rishon Yom Shloshim. If you shave the first time on the 30th day, which is okay because Mitzvah Kulo, Megalech Hashniya Liyom Shishim. Then a Yom Shishim should be the Girsa. The second one you shave on the 60th day because the 30th day would be the first day of the second one and the end on 59. Then Gilch Yom Shishim Chasrachim. You did it on the 59th day. Yatsa Sheyom Shal Shloshim Olalo Min Aminyan. Because the 30th day, right, when you shave for the first one, you shave your korbanos for the first one, that counts for the second one. Okay, that's good. Now, before we get into Tumah, let's just finish this thing. I have a question that I want to raise, and I'm not sure what the answer is. Yesterday, our whole debate in the Gemara was, Rav said that what? That the 70th day, remember the case where a man says, I want to be a Nazir if I have a baby, if I have a boy. And then I want to be a Nazir for 100 days. And the baby was born after 70 days. Up until 70 days, no problem. You stop and you start, you do the kid in between, you finish his, you do the shaving and the korbanos, then you pick up yours. But if it's more than 70 days, and we debated what's more than 70 days, is it 71 days, 72 days? Well, we talked about that, right? So we said if it's more than that, then either you have, according to Rashi, you have to start all over again. According to other Rishonim, you knock off the days that are over 70, go back whole thing. And Rav said the 70th day counts for both, right? The 70th day counts for the first day of the kids and the 70th day of the other one, of the 100-day one that you did. And the Gemara says, well, who does Rav go like? Apparently it's not much from the Mishnah that way. So we debated and we said maybe he wants to come out like Rabbi Yossi. Why don't you say it goes like this Mishnah? Yeah. Here you see that the 30th counts both ways, right? Yeah. And the Gemara, I don't see that in the Meforshim. Maybe I missed some Rishonim and ask. I don't see that they asked that question. Why don't you bring a right from this Mishnah? So I think I don't have a good, I'm not sure what the answer is, but I think what the answer is this, that again, the concept of Mixium Kukulo says that at the beginning or the end, like of Shiva, so Mixium Kukulo at the beginning, Mixium Kukulo at the end. Other cases, we also say Mixium Kukulo, but not in all cases. When it comes to fasting, you don't say Mixium Kukulo. Comes to Shabbos, you don't say Mixium Kukulo. It's usually at the beginning or the end of something, and not in all cases. So in the case here of in our Mishnah, where a person says, I want to be a Nazir twice, the two things aren't really in conflict. In other words, they don't overlap. One ends and one begins. Yes, you could count the last day of one where you finished already. You bought your korbanos, you're done. Now you begin a new one. There's no problem with that. There's no problem with, like, let's say, the 31st day. In the simple case, you're Nazir for 30 days. When do you bring your korbanos? On the 31st day. Fine. 31st day is also the first day of the second one, right? Because you're done. Now you start. The two things aren't in conflict. I think what Rav was saying is when the two things seem to overlap or are in conflict, meaning I have a problem over here. I said I want to be Nazir when I have a baby boy. And meanwhile, I said I want to be Nazir today for 100 days. Well, at the 70-day mark, let's say the kid's born. Now we got a conflict, right? You want to count, I'm in the middle of one thing and you want to start something else in the middle. There we have an issue that Rav says you can count it both ways. And who does he go like Mixium Kukulo? Of course, in both cases, it's Mixium Kukulo. But in our case, in our mission, I think it's very simple because the two things are not in conflict with one another. I say I finished one Nazir, so I'm going to start another Nazirus. In the case before that Rav was talking about, and also the case that we try to bring a roof from Yossi, the case of a woman who was, let's say, she finished her Nida after 7 days. Now on the 8th day, she saw dams, which means she waits a day, goes to the mikveh the next day, and waits to see if she's guarding that day to see if she's going to be tahor. Then it was the 8th day and waits till the 9th day. And then on the 9th day, she seemed to be clean, and they brought a carbon for her, carbon Pesach, which then after a few minutes later, she saw dam. So now she's not going to be able to eat carbon Pesach then, right? Because she has to wait till the next day, go to the mikveh. That day she's tummy. She's not a full zava that has to count Zayin Nikiyim, but she saw it twice. Remember, we said this between a man who sees dam, who saw a gonorrheic attack. If he saw it twice, whether it's 2 days or 1 day, he already has to count Zayin Nikiyim. If he sees 3 times, he has to bring a carbon. A woman, once or twice, she's tummy for those days. And if then she's tummy. She only has to count Zayin Nikiyim and bring korbanos if she saw 3 days. Today, the reason we keep Zayin Nikiyim is because we consider a woman to be possibly a zava, and she has to keep Zayin Nikiyim. And neither Torah doesn't keep Zayin Nikiyim. But anyway, the point is that Rabbi Yossi said, Mikol Makom, right? He says, Rabbi Yossi says that case. Why? Because that's also a case where she was tamei on the 9th day, right? On the 8th day she was tamei. Then on the 9th day she went to the mikveh and she's waiting to see. Hopefully she'll be clean and the whole day, right? And then she's clean, and then she became tamei. So the question is, that day is she tamei or is she tar? In the morning she was tar. Then you say she's tamei afterwards. Is it retroactive or not, rabbanon or not? Then the two mixes hayom seem to contradict one another. Is that day, on the 9th day, is she tamei or is she not? Right? She's obviously tamei at the end of the day, but was she also tamei at the beginning of the day when they bought the carbon for her? Then there the two mixes yom kikulo seem to contradict one another. Similar to the case with the 70 days and the baby's Naziris. He's in the middle of counting his 100 days, and the baby comes along. The baby means the baby's arrival triggers the Naziris of the baby. But that's in conflict with the other Naziris that he's in. You can't say one ends and one begins. So I'm trying to say maybe it's a dochik answer, but I think that's why the Gemara didn't write to bring a proof from Mishnah. Gemara says, who does Rav go like? He can't go like the Mishnah on Tesvav. Well, maybe it's we said maybe it's not the Mishnah on Tesvav, but maybe it's like Rabbi Yossi. Maybe it's like a Bashal. No, Bashal's talking about avails. That's Rabbanan. That's I'm giving you yesterday's daf in a couple of seconds here, right? Bashal, that's avails. But when it comes to Naziris is the rice, and the Gemara maybe comes out like Rabbi Yossi. Okay, why didn't you just say goes like our Mishnah? Because our Mishnah, of course, you could have two Nazir. Let me give you an example. Give an example like this. What we call if somebody died and there was a funeral, and the funeral was, let's say, on Monday. Monday was a funeral. Okay, so they start serving shiv on Monday. When do they get up? Sunday morning, right? On Monday, you have Mitzvah Yom Kukulo, right? They started on Monday afternoon after the Levaya, Then on Sunday morning, they get up. Shmal Slan, later on that day, somebody else died in the family, okay? That family, and they had the kfura that same day, right? They had the kfura the same day. Right? So on Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning, they got up from the first Shiva. Sunday afternoon, they start sitting Shiva again. Just thought of that example right now. What do I mean to say there? You could have two mixes of Yom Kikulas over there, and they're not in contradictory. One not in contradiction. That one was for the availus of the first person who died. They got up Sunday morning. Sunday afternoon, they're sitting Shiva for somebody else. Would you say you can't say two mixes of Yom Kikulos in the same day? It's like, no, the two things aren't in contradiction. Two things are separate things. Just like here, the Nazir. The guy says, I want to be Nazir twice. Okay, do one, finish, and start the other one. No problem over there. No problem saying Mixi Kulo on both of them. I think that's a shot.
With Shiva, however, if you lose somebody one day, 2 days later you lose another. You just do
right, but you're because he's already in the middle of Shiva. That's different. So they're
combined.
Right, they combine, but there it's different because again, two things. First of all, they're combined. There's not an issue of and yet really they're overlapped. But over there, there's no issue of mixed and kukul because it's in the middle. As I said before, when do we say mixed and kukul? When we do say it. We don't say it for Isurim, for Tanis, or for something of that sort, or for Yantif, or whatever. Don't say mixed and kukulo. You say it at the beginning or the end of a period, like a Avelis. You say it at the beginning and you say it at the end. You say mixim kukulo. But that's a classic example. But not in the middle. In the middle, you don't say it. If a woman is sitting Zayin Nikiyim, if you would say Zayin Nikiyim helps, even what or for example, let's say a Zava, she goes to the she's really on the seventh day, she goes to the mikveh. There you go to mikveh during the day. So also one of them seems between a Nida and a Zava. But you don't say in the middle of the Zayin Nikiyim, oh, if she had a partial day, so that counts. It's always the beginning or the end of a period when you do say Mixim Kukulo. I'm just saying, I think our Mishnah is not the same with the Rav. Rav is talking about when the two things seem to overlap or they're in contradiction with one another, as opposed to our case. Let's continue on with the Mishnah now. Hareini Nazir, we're about 10 lines from the bottom of Tes Zayin Amar Aleph. Hareini Nazir, he became Misha. I'm sorry, I skipped a line. Did I skip a line? No. Misha Amar Hareini Nazir. Misha Amar Hareini Nazir. If a person said, I'm going to be a Nazir, nit miyom shloshim. Now, what happens if you became Tameh on the 30th day? Sosra Sakol. Now, even though we said Mixim Kukulo, right? Mixim Kukulo, yes, but he hasn't yet brought his karbanos, right? If he would bring, according to what Master learns or Pashut Shat, if he would bring his karbanos on the 30th day, he's done. Now he became Tameh. That's nothing to do with the Naziris. But if he didn't do it yet, he's Sosra the whole thing. Rabbi Lezer Amar Eina Sosra L'Shiva. He only knocks off 7. What does it really mean? He doesn't knock off even that. What he means is he's just got to bring his karbanos b'tahara, meaning you have to fulfill the tahara process of becoming tamei lames. But it has nothing to do with the naziros, because Rabbi Lezer says since on the 30th day you could have brought your karbanos, it's already considered as if you're finished with the naziros. Except what? Now that you're tamei, you can't bring your karbanos, the chatas ol shlom that you have to bring when you're tahor, right, when you finish your naziros. You can't bring that until you purify yourself because you went to a funeral. So you knocks off only 7 days. We pass like the Chachamim that knocks off the whole thing. If you haven't brought your Kabbalah yet, even though you could bring it on the 30th day, like the previous part of the Mishnah said, but if you didn't bring it yet, knocks off the whole thing. Hareini Nazir Shloshim Yom. Let's say he says, I'm a Nazir for 30 days. And we said at the beginning of the Mishnah, what's the thing saying Nazir Stam and Nazir for 30 days? If I say 30 days, I want 30 complete days. So here, even Rabbi Lezer would agree. According to everybody, even according to Rabbi Lezer. Because here he's not a Nazir. You can't say Mixiyam Kukulo, he could have brought his Kabbalah on the 30th day. Because when he says I'm a Nazir for 30 days, he means 30 complete days. So he can't bring it till the 31st day. So if he became Tamei in the 30th day, it's like he became Tamei in the 15th day or the 20th day. He's got to start all over again. Now, by the way, and another thing I want to say here, because if you become Tamei while you're a Nazir, right? So what is it? You have to do the tahara process of a Nazir, which is slightly different than of a Stam Nazir. A Stam of a person became Tamei. In the time of the Beis Hamikdash, if you became Tamei, you went to a funeral, you're Tamei for 7 days. You have to be sprinkled on the 3rd and 7th day and go to the mikveh. However, if you're a Nazir and became Tamei Mes, not only do you have to do those, but you also have to bring the karbanos. You have to bring the 2 birds and bring a kefes for Asham. So that's but also while you're tamei for those 7 days, you still have to be noig nazirus. You can't drink wine, shave, or become tamei again, right? Same. That's still an usher for you under penalty of malchus. Okay, so hareini nazir me'ayom. Let's say though he says I'm a nazir for 100 days, right? Nit miyom me'ah solstice akol. Again, the Tanakhama says if you said 100 days, it's 100 full days. So if you became tamei in the 100th day, you got to start all over again. Rav Lezer Omer, ain't a solstice. Rav Lezer learns out of a pasuk that on a nazir where you say a specific period of time or any period of time, you have to start all over again if you're still a nazir. Now, even though Rav Lezer said that on the 30th day of a stam nazir, that's because you could have brought the kamanas on the 30th day. But when you said specifically, I'm a nazir for 100 days, that's 100 full days. So Rav Lezer says, so Tanakhama says 100 full days. If you became tamei in the 100th day, you got to start all over again. Rav Lezer says no, only shloshim. He learns out of a pasuk that if you became tamei on the 100th day, not on the 99th day, but on the 100th day, in a special pasuk teaches that you only have to keep 30 days, right? So, or any time. I mean, Rav Lezer says, "Ein asosel shloshim." In general, he says, based on that, we'll see the pasuk that if you become tamei on the day that you finish, you keep 30 days. Okay, let's say he became tamei in the 101st day. Now, the 101st day, everybody agrees he could have brought his karbanos that day. Then only sosa shloshim. So why is it sosa shloshim? It shouldn't be sosa or anything. He's really finished. So we'll see that's only a drabanan. It's only a drabanan because you shouldn't confuse it with other cases. So midrabanan you should keep 30 days, but really midoraisa not. We'll see. Rav Lezer me'ena sosa l'shiva. Again, Rav Lezer says it only knocks off 7 because you're really done. And again, shiva means, see, when you say sosa shloshim means you bring karbanos. We'll see when it's drabanan, you just keep 30 more days, but if you really bring karbanos, like more, we'll talk about that. Rav Lezer me'ena sosa l'shiva. That clearly Rav Lezer is saying 7 days just means that you can't bring your karbanos yet, your karbanos of Tara, but it doesn't mean that you're really a nazir, that you start all over again, counting, or that you bring karbanos of Tumah. So the Mishnah, now the Gemara is like this: Misham already nazir at the Gemara, 2 lines from the bottom page. Misham already nazir v'nitma yom shloshim soser esakol. If he said I'm a nazir and and becomes tamei on the 30th day, soser esakol. Who says that? The Tanakhama, because he said I'm a nazir v'nit yom shloshim. Even though you could have brought your karbanos today, but you didn't. So the Tanakhama says, you start all over again. Why? Ksavar of Lezer, call acher melos shiva soser. Whenever you're done, really, according to Bar Kapar, you're done because it's only 29 days, right? It's only 29 days. And if you tell me in the 30th day, you're really done. According to Rav Masna, the reason is because Rav Lezer holds mixes yom kakulo. So since you could have brought your karbanos on the 30th day, right? The Tanakhama says, yes, you could bring your karbanos on the 30th day, but if you didn't, you're not really done yet. You're not done until 30 days. Yes, if you brought your karbanos, you could mix them cool. It's your option. But if you didn't, you're still in nazir. So if you became tamei on the 30th day, knocks off the whole thing. Well, it says, no, you're really done already. Mix them kukulo. And according to this, the Pashup shot is that maybe the Tanakhama doesn't hold this Tanakhama. We said before, Rav Master will say that the Tanakhama does not hold a mixium kukulo over here. Maybe he doesn't hold it. What about mixium kukulo? Maybe the Tanakhama doesn't hold of it, and Rav Lezer does. So Rav Lezer will say mixium kukulo. So Rav Lezer kolech, and once and this mixium kukulo, you're really done already. Call achar melos, when you're finished already. Shiva soser no more. Hareini nazir shloshim yom. But let's say he says I want to be a nazir for 30 days. That means complete days. V'nitni yom shloshim soser kol, and here lo polyg Rav Lezer damar shleimim. Here, even Rav Lezer doesn't disagree. He also says if you say I'm a nazir for 30 days and you can tell me on the 30th day, you got to start all over again because he said 30 days, which means 34 days. Hareini nazir mea yom. If he's a nazir for 100 days, minit yom mea. What did the Mishnah say there? So it's just a call according to the Tanakhama because he said 100 full days. Rav Lezer me'enes also shloshim. The kula karavin ba'aliv with the barpad of Rav Master. The Gemara says go back to Daf Hayomi, and there we explained everything that it's based on a pasuk. Take a look at Rashi. Rashi helps us out a little bit over here. The time of Rav Lezer, the Kamar Pasuk says, the day that he finishes his Nazir. So Torah Amar Nikva Yom Melos, if he finishes on the last day, the 100th day, or the 30th day, Ten Lo Torah's Nazir, he's got to be a regular Nazir for 30 more days. I feel it as Ruben, no matter what it is. If he's a Nazir for 30 days, or he's a Nazir for 100 days, or 1,000 days, and becomes somebody on the last day, Rav Lezer will say the Torah is saying you only got to do 30 more days. That's how he'll explain that. That's how he explained it according to Barpada. Okay. The Gemara explains everything. Again, Pada says Stam Nazir says 29 days. We presumably hold like Rav Masa that Stam Nazir says 30 days, but the Gemara seems to always have that idea that Yiyah, we learn out from Kadoshia, Yiyah is Gematria 30, and that's a Stam Nazir's. Okay. Now, Misha Nazir basic parts. Let's talk about. We've been said until now that if you attend a funeral, while you're a Nazir, you got to start all over again, right? You got to start all over again. However, that's not exactly correct. We're going to see in the 7th parak, if you want to look quickly to Daf, I think it's Nun Daled, in the 7th parak. I don't know if you have the same volume, but whatever. The Gemara over there says like this. This that we say that if you become Tamei Lames, you got to start all over again. Yeah, and as the date that you counted till now, don't. If you're Tamei in any form, you still have to do the Tahara process, the 3rd and the 7th day of sprinkling, and go to the mikvah on the 7th day. Okay, but you have to bring, what's the difference between a Nazir who became Tamei? He also got to bring a carbon afterwards, the carbon of the 2 birds and the keves for Osham, and got to start all over the count all over again. Well, that's not exactly true. That's true, not just attending a funeral, that's if you touch the body. If you touch the dead body, then you have that problem. However, the Mishnah over there says that there are other cases. There are cases where the first Mishnah on Mem Tes says over there on Mem Tes and basis, listen, on the following things, Alelu Tumas and Nazir Megaleach, he shaves, meaning he's got to go through the process. Alameis, Falkazayis Menemes, if he touches those things, and he touches this part of the body, that part, touches any part of the body. In other words, if he actually touches a dead body in a form like that, he's got to start. Then he's got to do the whole process, including the bring the karbanos and the shaving at the end of the what we call tiglachas tuma. I mean, at the end of the 7 days of purification, he has to shave and bring the karbanos of tuma, and then start the count all over again. However, the Mishnah Nun Dalet says that there are many cases where you're tamei, but not exactly tamei in the same form. Schachos pros, base of pros, tumah derabanan, eretzam, you went to chutzlatz, a goldofik, revias nam ba'ohel. Now, usually when you go to a funeral, most of us don't actually carry the body, unless you're a pallbearer or whatever. Then you just go to why do you wash afterwards? Because you were in the ohel with the dead body. If you were outside where the kohanim stand, you weren't tamei, right? So let's say you had what we call tumas ohel. So you're tamei indeed for 7 days. Just like if you're not a nazir, you're tamei for 7 days. But you don't have to do all the processes of that. Meaning, al elu, the Mishnah says, ain't a nazir megalech. You don't have to shave. You just have to do your 3rd and 7th and mikvah like anybody who became tamei lameis, even if they're not a nazir. But you don't have to shave, and you have to sprinkle the 3rd and 7th. But it doesn't knock off the first days. You start. In other words, the days are suspended. The carbon elo. You don't bring a carbon, right? So that's what the Mishnah says over there. So we first have to understand that when you're a nazir, right? When you're a nazir, this is what we say. If you became tamei lameis, you got to start all over again and do the process of a nazir of bringing a carbon after 7 days and shaving. That's only if you, let's say, let's say you touch the dead body or parts of the dead body. But if you touch, let's say, revias dam, just the blood, or you were in OL, very simply, you went to a funeral, but you didn't come in contact, let's say, with the dead body, then you're tamei, but it doesn't knock off the days that you counted so far. So if you're a nazir, 10 days later, you were in the room with somebody, they dropped dead, right? You were in OL with him. You're tamei for 7 days, and your nazir is suspended. But when it's over after 7 days of purification, you don't shave, you don't bring a carbon, and you pick up. Now you start day 11. You did 10 days so far. You start day 11. Okay, so that's what we say so far. And presumably there also, if you say mix and kukulo, yeah, you already had your 10th day. I don't know if you would say it there too. It's the same, it's the same thing. But we assume it makes it okay. So the missions are like this. Misha knows we're on Tessa Animate base. Misha knows a basic forest. A man is already tamei. He's in a basic forest, and he says, "I want to be a nazir." Even if he fulfilled their taste. Now, I mentioned before, if you're tamei, you still can't do, even if you're tamei, you can't, and you're a nazir, you can't drink wine, etc. You can't do the 3 prohibitions. Those don't count. It only counts if you started being a nazir in a regular way. You were a nazir, you observed, you were tahor, and then you became tamei. But if you started out already, Misha Nazavu basic faros, Even if you were there 30 days and you finished like a whole Nazir's period, they don't count because you never started Batara. The Eina Mevi carbon, and he doesn't bring Einola minion. They don't count for the test. Now, obviously, here's what we're saying: Einola and a minion. Even if you say that the tumah that you did was only tumas ohel, right? Where tumas ohel, those days do count. The days that Batara count. These don't count. Einola minion means that even if you they don't count at all because you never even started. Then maybe you don't bring carbon tumah. Yotza v'nichnas. Let's say though you went outside, meaning you left the basic forest, you purified yourself over 7 days, right? And presumably, let's say your Naziris of Tara didn't really start. V'nichnas, and you came in. Olam minyan, they do count. Now, what does that mean? Olam minyan. What does olam minyan mean? Well, of course, yeah, but if you went back into the basic forest, don't you have to start all over again? So you have to start all over again. What's the point? If you went outside and you purified yourself and you came back in, olam minyan. What does it mean, olam minyan? Olam minyan that the days that you were outside count so that they get knocked off again. But based on what we said before, that's how the Rambam is. Olam minyan means they count if, let's say, when you came back in, you didn't touch a dead body, you were just in an OL with a dead body, like those lesser tumas, let's call them, where you're tameh and you have to purify yourself, but you don't have to shave, bring karbanos, and it doesn't knock off the days. So again, yatsa here means you went out of the basic forest, you purified yourself over 7 days, you came back in. Okay, let's say you were outside for 5 days, 10 days, whatever, those days count. You know what I mean? Or maybe carbon tumah. But if you touch the dead body now, then you have to do the whole process and bring a carbon tumah. Rav Lezer Omer, lo bobi, and Rav says no. That day doesn't. In other words, if you went outside and purified yourself, right? You purified yourself and then came back in, and you came back in that day. That nothing counts there. Why? Shenemar vayom rishon and yiplu. Achilo yom rishon. You have to have 2 days. In other words, this that we say that it gets knocked off and you start all over again and the whole process and all that, that's only if you had a couple of days. A couple of days could mean 1 day plus, or maybe some say means 2 full days. We'll talk about that. But basically he says this that we say that if you became tummy, it knocks it off and you have to do the whole process, including shaving, that's only if you started with at least 2 good days. If not. We'll see the halacha is like Rav Lezer, but we have to understand Rav Lezer more. Itmar. So when you do this, Misha Nazir Riskus, becomes a Nazir while he's tummy, while he's in a basic forest. Rabbi Yochanan Omar, Nazir is Chalalov. Nazir is Chal. Obviously, he can't start counting yet, but is there a Nazir there? Resh Lakish Amar a Nazir is Chal. Resh Lakish says the way Enforcement explained is he's not a Nazir unless he affirms it later on. Whereas what he said when he's in the basic forest doesn't mean anything, according to Pashup Shot in Resh Lakish right now. Meaning, is he a Nazir? According to Rabbi Yochanan, means, yeah, I'm going to be a Nazir. Can't start yet. It's suspended because he's telling me right now. He started off that way. But once he purifies himself, it starts automatically. Rish Lakish says, no, you have to affirm it later on and say, you know what? I'm confirming. I'm confirming again. Take a look at Rashi. 3 lines into the wide lines of Rashi. Rish Lakish Amar, Ihar Omer Aha. If he goes back and repeats and says, I want to be a Nazir, like I said in the basic verse, then Chayla. Even though he has to say Nazir, but he has to say, I confirm what I said in the cemetery. Be low. If he doesn't confirm that again, he's not a Nazir. There's nothing wrong with that. He's not a Nazir at all. So according to Pashup Shah now in Rish Lakish, we'll see it changes later on, but Rish Lakish says now, Ein Nazir is Chalav. And the Gemara goes on to explain that. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Nazir Chalav. Rabbi Yochanan back in the Gemara. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Nazir Chalav Savar Mitla Tali V'Kaima. You took upon yourself a Naziris. It can't start right now because you're tummy right now in the basic forest, but it's suspended and it's standing and it's ready to start. Even the Mishkach Tara, as soon as you finds a way that once you become Torah, you purify yourself outside the cemetery, and it begins automatically. In other words, as soon as you finish 7 days of cleaning, don't forget you don't have to bring a carbon now because you weren't a Nazir originally, right? It starts immediately. It starts immediately as soon as you finish your 7 days of Tara, even on the 7th day. Again, as soon as you finish your 7 days, even mitzvah kikulo. No, it's not chal automatically. If he repeats himself and says, I want to be a nazir, like I said, in the cemetery, then chaylo, then it's chal, lo. That's the machlokes from Rabbi Yochanan and Shlokish. Eis Rabbi Yochanan and Shlokish. Now Rabbi Yochanan is going to ask Kasha on Shlokish. Misha nazir basic faros. What did our Misha say? If you're a nazir while you're in the cemetery, I feel even if you were there 30 days, ain't no limit a million, doesn't count at all. Then maybe carbon tumah. And you don't, if you purify yourself afterwards, you don't bring a carbon tumah. You certainly don't bring it before, not afterwards. Carbon tumah hudalo meisi hamechachayla. You don't bring a carbon tumah, a carbon for a nazir. So remember, a regular tamei person does not bring a carbon. It's only his nazir became tamei. You don't bring a carbon tumah, but it's mashma. The nazir will be chal. Amalei, no, that's not pshat. That's not how I read the Mishnah. Amalei ain't a b'toras tumah, ain't a b'toras carbon. No, it means you're not tumah and there's no carbon. There's nothing here. You're not a nazir. Ain't a b'toras tumah. You're not chayav for a nazir becoming tamei. And b'toras carbon. And presumably what Rish Lakish would mean is that you could drink wine. You could drink wine. Rabbi Yochanan says you're basically a nazir, but it can't start yet. Okay, but while you're a nazir, maybe you shouldn't drink the wine either. Okay, maybe that's part of the machlokas too. Eisvei, another kash. Misha yatamei, person was tamei, meaning like the same thing. He's in a basic forest, but nazir and became a nazir. Also legalech, he can't shave. Belishtos yain, belitamei lamesim, even though he's tamei already. That's like Rabbi Yochanan says, "Vim gilach b'shas yain v'nit lamesim." Raises so because it gets malchus. Yeah, if you say the Nazir is really chal as soon as he's in the basic forest, except it can't really start. You can't start counting 30 days because you're tamei. But the Nazir is there, you can't drink wine, etc. So high in the time, so because according to Rish Lakish, it's not chal at all. Am I something because arbon? In other words, underlying Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish is not underlying. That's really the outcome of Rabbi Yochanan and Rish Lakish. Rabbi Yochanan says the Nazir is chal, but you can't start counting until you become tar. But you're a Nazir now, you can't drink wine. Rish Lakish says, no, you're nothing. Says the Gemara at the top of Yud Zayin. What will Rish Lakish answer? No, there it's speaking about where he went outside and purified himself, went to the mikveh, and then he said again, Hareini Nazir. Then he came back in, right? And then we're saying that he's tamei. Then he would get malchus. And Rashi says, Blazer says, no, the same day you come back in doesn't work. And he says, no, it works there too. He doesn't like a blazer, and he would still be tamei. That's how Rish Lakish will learn. Eisvei, the top of the Yud Zayin again. There's no difference between a person who's tamei, meaning the basic person became a nazir now, or a nazir who's a regular nazir, a tar who became tamei. Ela tamei shenazar, a person who is tamei and became nazir. Shvi shelo olam and a minyan. Meaning, if he's tamei while he's a nazir, right? He's tamei. He became tamei. He's tamei already. Then he became a nazir. He has to purify himself 7 days, and on the 7th day he can start counting. The shvi shelo 7th day. There's no carbon over here because there's no carbon because he wasn't a nazir b'tar first, and that counts already for the beginning of his naziris. The nazir tar shenitma, a nazir tar who became tamei, ain't shvi shelo olam minyan. Why? Because he has to bring a carbon on the 8th day. He's a nazir for 7 days. He has to bring a carbon on the 8th day. If you say it's not chal, amai olo min a minyan, right? Why would it count? If it's not chal, amai olo minyan. Why would it count? In other words, what do you mean olo min a minyan? He says he's a tamei person who became a nazir. So the 7th day after he purifies himself, since there's no carbon, he can start counting. If he's a nazir Torah who became tamei, he can't count on the 7th day can't be the beginning of his count because he has to wait for his carbon on the 8th day. If it's not chal, why olam minyan? Why is there olam minyan? Shvish olam minyan says Rashi. The nazir Torah shenit main shvish olam minyan says Rashi. Af bisha tavel hu Torah I yom shvish maybe it's kabraso. Come in. Says Kate. So what are you saying? Olam minyan? There is no minyan over here. There's no minyan over here. He's not a nazir. I'm a Mabra Avashi, so he's like this. Everybody agrees, even Rish Lakish agrees that the Nazir is chal right away. And he wouldn't be able to drink right away, drink wine. Elakit pligi or milky, would he get malchus for that? If he drank, would he get malchus? Keeping the chayla, since it's chal, he gets malchus, even though he can't start counting yet. Rish Lakish savar low lucky, v'chayla. He wouldn't get malchus, it's chal, but he wouldn't be chal. So we've already retreated. Rish Lakish has retreated that it's not chal at all unless he confirms it again. It is chal. Question is going to get malchus or not. So tomorrow's Gemara will continue with this tomorrow. Misham says how this is also up Geshlug. At the end, we slug up or sluggish. It doesn't that he is some, you get Malchus, etc. So if you, while you're in a basic forest, you accept Naziris, even though you can't start counting yet, but the Yisurim are there. You can't drink wine, etc. You get Malchus. If you did it with Adam and Asura, you get Malchus. We'll pick it up from here tomorrow, Mitzvah Hashem. Have a good day, everybody.